everyone, and welcome to the second episode of From Dirt We Grow. I am your host, Stephanie Kendall, and I want to thank you for being here with me. And I need to ask y'all to hook me up with the LSB, like, subscribe, bell, so you don't miss the chance to weigh in on these heavy issues. And remember, the more of us working together to carry them, the lighter they will be. So last week's episode was seriously just the tip of the iceberg on the subject of greed and corruption in politics. We talked about the societal divisions magnified by the government as a diversion tactic. And we are nowhere near the end of that discussion. But for today's show, I'd like to turn the tables a bit and ask us to look at ourselves and how much we as a whole fall victim to their diversion tactics. As you know, to be heard, we must be many, and to be many, there may be a bit of work to do first. So let's get that work started. I'm going to ask um, some hard questions. I'm going to ask you to be honest with yourself, okay? Now, how often do we judge others based on appearances, stereotypes, preconceived notions? How often do we let our own biases, political, cultural, or otherwise, cloud our ability to listen, empathize, and understand? All right, and how often do we fail to allow others the same acceptance to be who they are as we expect others to grant to us to be who we are? So now I've got a real easy one for you. I need you to picture this scenario, all right? Check it. How boring would life be if everybody was the same? Think about it. If everybody came from the same place, had the same background, went to the same church, same school, had same color eyes, same hobbies, interests, hairstyle, car, favorite color, clothes, on and on. I know, real boring, right? Crazy existence. Now, let's take another approach. How often do we assume who looks, thinks, or lives differently can't be good? And how many times have we dismissed another person's perspective not because it's invalid, because it challenges our own? We have been conditioned to believe that different equals threat, that someone else's values, choices, beliefs automatically invalidate our own. Or the fact that just because they're different makes them wrong. Don't be so quick to dismiss an alternative perspective. Imagine this: two people stood at opposite ends of a number painted on the ground. One said it was a 6, the other swore it's a 9. They're looking at the same thing, but neither one of them is wrong. They're just viewing it from different angles. All right, let's address the elephant of the diversity controversies. Of course, being racism. This is the beast that refuses to die, and it will never die as long as we keep breathing life into it. This is a deep rooted issue that continues to shape our society in complex ways. Addressing it in a thoughtful, all encompassing way is not an easy feat. It's vast, emotional, and layered with centuries of history and lived experiences. But it's a challenge that we just cannot shy away from. Acknowledging the past is essential. We have to understand where we've come from and what unfathomable, abhorrent injustices were carried out must never be forgotten or ignored. But in seeking justice for those atrocious wrongs, we must be careful not to create further division that prevents healing. The pain and anger are absolutely real, but also holding a whole race accountable for history can build walls instead of bridges. Just as no one should deny the realities of systemic racism, no one should be burdened with guilt from crimes they didn't commit. The same goes for condemning a person based on pigmentation rather than facts. Proof. Racism at its core is an absurd concept. It's an engineered division with no basis in logic or science, yet its effects are painfully and catastrophically real. Yet, in spite of its irrationality, we have given it so much power. The damage it has caused is still not repaired today. Yet, clinging to such a preposterous falsehood that carries the belief of the ridiculous notion that skin color or ethnicity somehow defines a person's worth, intelligence, or potential. It not only harms those who are targeted, but also limits society's progress, leaving us fractured and so far from what we could achieve together. It fosters ignorance, fear, and hatred, creating barriers where none should exist. The more we focus on the things that separate us, the harder it will be to build something new, free from the ignorance, inequality, and hatred so widespread and honestly uninvited to our stand against the powers that seek to divide and control us. No person should be judged on sight, period. And as society continues to evolve and grow, those who thrive on division have set their hateful and fear induced sights on the transgender community. You do not have the authority over other individual lives to control their God given right to be who they are. And please, someone explain to me, because I am perplexed by the fact that these hate filled people don't learn from their past attempts to cancel a whole group of people based on one common trait. Every group that has been ostracized for whatever reason, from the Jewish, Japanese, women, black people, gay people, lesbians, trans, etc., it doesn't work. In fact, it backfires on you because the more energy you spend on your ridiculous attempts to shun, the stronger the will of the group and its backers become. So, when will the revolving door of bigotry close for good? Live and let live. It's so freaking simple. Listen, every time we buy into hate, every time we choose fear or dismissal over conversation, and every time we fall for the us versus them narrative, we're giving the system exactly what it wants: division. Because a divided public is an easily controlled public, an easily distracted public. The more fuel we add to their fire, the weaker our flames become. So here's what I want us to consider. What if we approached our differences not as barriers, but as opportunities? What if instead of asking, why are they like that, we ask, what can I learn from them? Because the truth is, the world isn't going to change unless we do. The divisions we see in society, they start with the divisions we hold in ourselves. Our biases, our assumptions, our unwillingness to step outside our comfort zones and see the bigger picture. The changes we need to see or to make happen in the broken system that governs us needs to start in us. Here's the challenge. Next time you see someone or something that causes that knee jerk reaction to judge or dismiss, just pause and say to yourself, hey, different is okay. In fact, different is good. Because when we start to see our differences as strengths, that's when real change begins. And changing your thinking or perspective doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that takes commitment and determination. But I promise you the effort is worth the growth. Please don't forget, I encourage you to weigh in with comments, suggestions, thoughts, and share this with someone who could possibly benefit from the message. Now, I am looking forward to next week's episode. I'm letting my hair down and throwing the shit at the fan. Join me for a new twist on the outdated practices still in use that should have been canned long ago. This is From Dirt We Grow. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to LSB me. I will see you next Tuesday. Don't miss it.